What's up, people? Welcome back to Game Told. Jared, the cipher consultant in the music business. Sad day for hip hop. Pras from the Fugees has been sentenced to 14 years in prison. So, unless you haven't been paying attention, Pras has been in trouble for the last 2-3 years. He was sentenced. He was sentenced yesterday, but he's been found guilty in the court of law in 2020 since 2023. So he's just been waiting for a sentence, and he got that yesterday. Now let's read the article. It says, Grammy-winning rapper Pras Mitchell of the Fugees was sentenced on Thursday to 14 years in prison for a case in which he was convicted of illegally funneling millions of dollars in foreign contributions to former President Barack Obama's 2012 re-election campaign. Michelle, 52, declined to address the court before U.S. District Judge Colleen Cotelli sentenced him. In April 2023, a federal jury convicted Michelle of 10 counts, including conspiracy and acting as an unregistered agent of a foreign government. The trial in Washington, D.C. included testimony from actor Leonardo DiCaprio and former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. I'll come back to why Leonardo DiCaprio was tied into all of this. Justice Department prosecutors said federal sentencing guidelines recommended a life sentence for Michelle, whom they said betrayed his country for money and lied unapologetically and unrelentingly to carry out his schemes. His sentence should reflect the breadth and depth of his crimes, his indifference to the risks of to his country, and magnitude of his greed. It also goes on to say, Michelle, who obtained $120 million from Malaysian billionaire Low Taek Joe, also known as Joe Low, and steered some of that money through straw donors to Obama's campaign. Michelle also tried to end a Justice Department investigation of Low, tampered with 2 witnesses, and perjured himself at trial, prosecutors said. Low, who has lived in China, was one of the primary financiers of The Wolf of Wall Street. That's why Leonardo DiCaprio's name was drawn into this. A movie starring DiCaprio. Low is a fugitive but has maintained his innocence. Low's motivation for giving Michelle money to donate was not that he could achieve some policy objective. Instead, Low simply wanted to obtain a photograph with himself and the then President Obama, Michelle's attorney wrote. So, all that's saying here is, Pras, actually I'll tell you, from my extensive research, this is what I've come to know. So this Malaysian billionaire, who goes by the name as Joe Low comes to town and he's flashing the cash, he's giving money, he's going to places, buying up champagne and all this other stuff, in the clubs, he's everywhere, and his name is ringing bells. So, let's go back to Pras. Pras happens to be part of a thing they call a super PAC. Now, a super PAC is a collective of people with money. What they do is they back a presidential candidate and say, look, we're going to donate to you so that you can go out and go and campaign. Campaigns cost a lot of money. There's a lot of traveling involved, a lot of security needs to be paid, flyers, adverts, all these things. So this is called lobbying, right? When you get money from people to fund a presidential campaign. So he was part of a thing called the Super PAC. And what the Super PAC do is they collect money and put it all together, and then they go and back a candidate. Once they back the candidate, what they expect if you win is government contracts to build schools, roads, things like that. So Pras was doing all of this. And in the midst of all of that, he meets this guy, Joe Low, who's a Malaysian billionaire. This guy turns up to town and he's splashing the cash everywhere. Apparently Miami, he was going crazy. name it, everywhere, all over. So somebody introduces him to Pras, and Pras sees an opportunity there as he's a businessman. So mind you, Pras was making money anyway, but then he meets a billionaire and he's like, yo, we can do more with this. So according to their story, this guy would pay Pras any sort of money because he wanted to meet Obama. Now remember, Pras is part of this super PAC who has campaigned for Obama. He takes money and he tries to get a picture. I don't know if they got the picture or not, but that's the story. So he's now hanging around this guy because it's sweet. There's money. It's a honeypot. He's hanging around this guy and this guy's giving him all the money. But this Malaysian billionaire happens to have ties in China. So if you don't know, there's a rift between America and China. Everybody's being very, very sensitive about Americans and China are being very sensitive about how they play with each other, especially when it comes to things like this. This is serious because you're trying to back an American president with Chinese-backed money. So what if that guy's a spy for China? We don't know. It's been alleged, but we don't know what's going on. So Pras takes money from him, and he's still funding Obama and people in Obama's circles and stuff like that. And now it comes out that this guy has ties to China. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the Chinese government's even looking for him. So all of a sudden, he jets off and nobody knows where he is, and problems start to arise. So the government come to Pras and say, listen, you need to give up everything you've done, because everything you've made, all the money and all the wealth you've amassed, you need to give it up. Because if you don't, this guy here, he did this and that, and we're going to take you and him to court. Pras says, I genuinely did legitimate business. Why should I give it up? So the feds come and say, okay, we'll go to court. He's like, let's go. Because he believes in himself that he was doing good. So he goes to court, and I think before the trial, they freeze his accounts. And across 3 different accounts, he had like 78 million or so. And they freeze the account. So now he can't pay his high-powered lawyers. So he's tied up. The case goes to court. He loses. 2023. No sentencing. Or up until yesterday. So this is where it leaves us. How do I know what I know? I had a client last year who called me one day and said, listen, there's a meeting going on. I need to invest in something, and the investment has come up. Call the lawyer, they'll send you the link, and make sure you're involved. Don't let the litigation carry on and go, because you know how lawyers get involved and speak on my behalf and get this done. I said, say no more. I got this. So I find out it was a meeting between her lawyers and Pras's lawyers. Because she wants to fund a documentary based on Pras's life so far. Basically the story I've just told you. So a whole lot of back and forth. There was 3 meetings that I was involved in. They had been talking before, they spoke after. I just didn't get involved because there was a lot of jargon going on. I wanted to focus on work. So I don't know where that is now because I'm not working with them anymore. But there was a lot of back and forth, and I heard a lot. I met Pras's lawyer, I met Pras. We were talking back and forth what we're doing, what we can do for him, what he can do for the label, for the investor, all of that. Now, I got to see this documentary that Pras is doing, and I must say, it's on par with any good or the best documentaries you've ever seen on Netflix. Amazing. The story is amazing. The way they've edited it, crazy. Now, this wasn't the full-blown documentary, but this was an extended trailer. Now, this trailer had so much information in there that you could tell where it was going and you wanted to hear more. And it was amazing. There were so many things in there, twists and turns and stuff like that. And I'm sure that documentary is going to hit the screen soon. I don't know when, because like I said, I bowed out of it. I had other things to focus on, but I was privy to what's going on. The documentary was amazing. So I hope it comes out so you guys all can get to see it, because I saw it with my own eyes, and I spoke to him as a part of a group. We were on the Zoom calls. You know, we picked his brain on different things. He was still waiting trial. And now this was late last year. And now this is where it's turned. This is what's happened. Now, here on Game Told, I love to just educate about the music business. And one thing I always advocate for is always diversifying yourself. Get into other businesses, learn to invest your money. That way you're not just depending on money coming from music, which dries up or has temperaments to go up and down. So it's great that a person will go and invest in other things and try and make something good of themselves, especially Pras. Now, my friends in Miami would always tell me, Pras drives the nicest cars, Rolls Royce, lives in the nicest places, has all the best watches and all this other stuff. So I knew he was doing good business beforehand. But it just so happened this time here, this person he got involved with was no good and has gotten jammed up. He's now lost everything because the government's going to seize everything on the pretenses of that all his wealth amassed came from that. But let's rewind it back. Where did Pras's actual money come from? Pras is part of the Fugees. The Fugees signed a very, very basic deal because the label didn't believe in them. So they gave them a higher percentage, higher than most people. Remember, most people get 18%. The Fugees got, I don't know how much exactly, but their percentage was very high, and the label didn't believe in them. They released that album, that one Fugees album, and it went crazy. It turned Wyclef into a superstar, turned Lauryn Hill into a superstar. Pras even had his run with Ghetto Superstar and all that. So it put them in a different limelight, and they made a lot of money from that. And don't quote me, but if they don't own the rights to the album, they still getting that big percentage from it. So Pras made a lot of money, and he put his money in the right places. He did exactly what you're supposed to do. He invested. He was making money. He was part of that super PAC. They invested in Obama's campaign. It was successful. They lobbied. So they probably got loads of government contracts back, or favors here and there. He was rubbing shoulders with the right people. And then this guy comes and ruins everything. I mean, I sympathize with him, because if that was me, I'd probably be in the same situation. But when the feds come calling and they give you a warning and say, this is what happened, give up everything. Would I fight back? I don't think I would. Especially being a good businessman as he is. I'll just give it up and then try again. You have the links. You're still Pras. You still got some money coming in. Your freedom is everything. But yeah, so it's very unfortunate that this happened to him. But based on my insights and my experience with him and what I know on this story that's been published, and just from what I've heard from other people around as well, it's a shame. It's a damn shame. But this also puts him in first rapper to be convicted of anything close to espionage of the US government. So yeah, I mean, Pras, keep your head up in that. But yeah, it's not a good thing. But what was he supposed to do? Was he being strong? Was he being strong-headed when the feds came and said, give up what you got? Or did he do the right thing? Well, I can't say he did the right thing because he's in jail now. I guess he didn't play ball. And mind you, in America, the feds, when they go to court, they have a 98% win rate. 98%. Although they do count plea deals and plea bargains and add them to their fold as their wins. But they have a 98% win rate. What does that tell you? You don't mess with them. So it's a shame, to be honest. It's a shame. And I wish Pras all the best, man. All the best. But yeah, I mean, listen, put it in the comments below. I mean, like, comment, subscribe. What would you do What do you think of what's happened, what you've heard? What do you do when someone comes flashing cash in your face? Jared the Cypher, consulting the music business again. This has been Game Told. Peace.